Hi guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to go over how we were talking about episodic anchoring the other day. And I wanted to compare that with the concept of semantic encoding. And those are just big words to talk about what I was saying the other day, where if you relate to a word personally, that's an episodic anchor. So like the word uncle, basically. You have your own personal experience of your own uncle. And so like Harry, for example, he has a negative personal experience with his uncle because his uncle's like really mean. And then there's the experience of an uncle overall, like the worldly universal experience. And the universal experience, or what an uncle represents to like a majority of people, like the notion of an uncle in a worldly sense, that can basically be called semantic encoding. So I used both of these concepts to learn Spanish, and I'm trying to do that as well with Italian. The only thing is that, well, you could, memorize a language very quickly. I know people who have learned a language in like a matter of 3 to 6 months, and it's just by simple memorization, and they have the entire language down. It's amazing. So if you're that type of person, go ahead and do that. That's totally up to you. But for me, I don't personally prefer to memorize things. So it can be kind of just too, just too repetitive and not enough meaning behind each word. So what I started to do after I watched Stephen Krashen's video about comprehensible input, I started to realize, like, oh, okay, how does a 3-year-old learn new words? The 3-year-old has like a personal meaning that they put behind the word, for example, uncle, or in my case, I'm learning the word zio for Italian because I'm learning Italian. So when it comes to the word uncle, I have my own experience of like, my goofy uncles that always like are cracking jokes, or some of the uncles that I have are like, more on the serious side. But a lot of them are just like, right, they're labeled as like, oftentimes you'll hear like uncles and you'll think of like irresponsible or something like that, So I do have that personal impression of them, and I think that can, at least in our culture, I'm not sure how it is in other cultures, but at least in the US, the worldly sense of uncle can be expanded to like, goofy or irresponsible or something like that, In Harry Potter's case, I mean, we definitely all have mean family members, so he had a really negative experience, which might actually be a cultural thing as well. But the thing is so, like, when I'm learning for Italian, let's say, I don't know the actual, like, universal experience of the word zio, of the person like zio, because I don't know enough zios. Like, I don't know enough Italian uncles directly to get like enough context of like, okay, this person's like that person, his uncle's like this, his uncle's like that, is, so that I can like make some context out of it. So in this case, like, I'm waiting to see like more videos or films or more context between my friend and their own uncle, like my Italian friend and their uncle. because what I have an experience of is American Italian, which I know is different than an uncle that's been lived their whole life in Italy. So, and of course everybody's personality is going to be different, but I'm just talking about like the universal overall notion that somebody thinks of when they think of like the worldly sense of zio. So that right there, when you're like thinking of that bigger expanded worldly sense, that's semantic encoding. I just kind of wanted to clarify that because I went over that quite a bit in one of my previous videos. And I actually think it's like very interesting. You know, just like the classic example that I use for Abuela, for learning the word Abuela. I had a much different experience. My personal experience of my grandma was much different than I feel like the experience is for people from Latin America, for example. So they kind of, my grandma, for example, was very like strict, you know, she was loving, but she was also like very strict. So I found the sense of that a little bit different from, you know, for example, Latin American culture. And I think it's those little details that kind of help learn a language, just because you can remember the experience or the notion of the word better because you have something like emotional to link it to. So it's not really like memorization. So yeah, I think that really helped me to, well, it just helps me in general to learn languages. Like when I haven't learned the word for uncle in Japanese yet, but I'm sure once I learn it, I'll also want to wait and see, like, you know, are their uncles the same over there? Do they have the same kind of notion in Japan of like uncle that we do in the US or other countries? And so I'll wait to kind of observe that. So I just wanted to go over that and clarify from the other video, and I'd actually like to go over something that I was thinking about the other day that has to do with English pronunciation. Let me just get my notebook. And I found it very funny. So we have quite a quite a random way of speaking sometimes in English, how we link our words. It's often like vowel, consonant, vowel. So if you see like vowels next to a consonant, things link together very easily. But I noticed myself saying like the word don't. And I noticed that the word don't actually transforms into just like almost just like the letter O. So, and I'm talking about like when we're speaking casually. Sometimes you will hear it like if somebody's talking very fast in like a formal way, but this would be like very casual speaking. So like if we use some examples here, like I don't know, or I don't think so, or I don't wanna. This is already a contraction because it's supposed to be want two. But because there's two, the two T's, it's consonant, the two consonants and the N and the T, it drops. Because we're trying to speak faster. And let's put I don't care. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. So these normally, like, so you can easily see them like I don't know, I don't think so, I don't wanna, I don't care. But I find myself saying these very quickly. And when I do this very quickly, and I'm not the only one, I know that I'm not the only one. This is like a real thing. But perhaps it's also my accent. Of course, I have an American accent, but on top of that, you know, I'm from a very rural place, so maybe that has to do with it. But I know, like, even, you know, when people have like an urban accent, they can speak like this as well. So it actually turns into like, I don't know, no. And like, I don't think so, I don't. It kind of reminds me of like, you know, when you hear a wolf like howl, like, ow, like that. It's almost like that. I don't know. I don't think so. I would think I'm saying like own. So they blend really, really quickly together. And then I don't wanna. I don't care. This T is like dropped. I don't care. So I just thought that was kind of funny and maybe might be a little bit helpful. I hope it doesn't confuse you. But at least when you hear I don't care or like I don't know or something, or I don't want to go there, I don't want, ow. See how it sounds like ow? I just thought it might be helpful, even if you don't use it yourself, even if you don't want to have this type of specific accent, you can at least understand when somebody's saying it and speaking fast. So just be careful of the word don't. When they're saying don't, it can sort of turn into own. Like o or on. Ow. Oh. Alright, I hope that helps, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.